Ricmotech GT Challenge, broadcasted Mondays live on Apex Racing TV. Visit ExtremeMotorsports99.com for series and scheduled details. Broadcast coverage next. Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course was the site of Round 5 of the Ricmotech GT Challenge, and the number 79 of Dennis Sevredek would bring that GTE field to the green as they raced down into Turn 4. Dennis would lead Lap 1 at the line with an already 1 second gap over second, but on Lap 2, Travis Schwenke in that Orion Race Team-sponsored BMW drives in a little deep into 4, but manages to save it, but not without slight contact from that 99 of Jennifer Mcdonald as she attempted to avoid the 16. The start for GT3 saw the number 112 of Cameron Martineau lead the field to green, and by lap 5, he had stretched out a 5-second lead over second through fourth. Then on lap 6, that 32 Ricmotech machine loses the rear end in the carousel and falls all the way to P16. Tony Kernan and Jeff Jacobs would have a bit of a battle over 7th, 10 laps in, but then patience breaks on the entry to the turn 2 keyhole as Tony makes a last-second dive to the inside of Jacobs, making slight contact. Although both drivers were able to recover, they did lose a couple of positions. By lap 11 in GTE, traffic was already becoming a factor as Mike Dam began to close in on Sevredek, working his way through. Travis Schwenke and Arthur Chan had quite a battle in traffic as they fought their way through, and by lap 21, Schwenke decided on an early pit stop strategy. Orion Collins was holding down a solid third-place gap over Aquila teammate Justin Corral as they began to gap their competition. On lap 19 in GT3, Tony Kernan makes a deep brake pass on Jeff Jacobs, entering turn 4 to take over P8. And with just a few laps to go, the 32 and 38 of Jacobs have quite the tussle as Jacobs holds off Ford on lap 50 as they go door-to-door into madness. Then on lap 53, with 2 laps remaining, Ford makes another move in the keyhole for that 8th position, but Jacobs would prevail once again as the 32 loses the rear end on exit. In the end, it was Cameron Martineau bringing home the victory in that Aquila Race Team Ferrari, with his teammate William Dillon snagging a strong second-place finish. And over in GTE, well, they would find the familiar number 79 of Denis Sevredek getting the victory, with that number 93 of Mike Dam bringing home another top 2 finish.
Hello race fans, Peter Mackay here, welcoming you to the Ricmotech GT Challenge, live from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in beautiful Bowmanville, Ontario in Canada. Joining me in the commentary box for tonight's 90-minute endurance race is Austin Knight. Austin, how are you feeling heading into this one?
I'm feeling absolutely fantastic here today for another fantastic run at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for another fantastic round of the Ricmotech GT Challenge. Well, this track is very famous for very tight, close racing, very hard to make an overtake here. So I expect it going to be very action-packed 90 minutes.
Absolutely, you can certainly guarantee that. It's as you can see from the track map, there is 2 very distinct parts to this circuit. You have the big high aero load, very, very fast corners in the opening half, then the very tight right-hander of Moss Corner, and then just one big drag up the hill along the Mario Andretti straightaway. So setup compromise is very important here. As you can see, our drivers are now heading out onto circuit to lay down their lap times. And as you said, Austin, you're absolutely right. Making those overtaking moves is not so straightforward. So, you know, these qualifying laps, once they get out of practice here, it's going to be super important.
Yeah, for these guys making a move right here, they're going to have to study the driver ahead of them for a few laps, find out where they're good at, find out where they're weak at. Best overtaking, some would say, would be Moss Corner, but really it's so tight and narrow to get that right line that if you try to make a move out there, you're going to be causing more of an incident for that other car that you're making the overtake and the cars behind you, because if they get into the grass, it's going to cause them to spin around, and a whole bunch of yelling will ensue.
Well, indeed, yes, and we see that, you're right, at Moss Corner is always a hot spot for action there, with plenty going on, and we see the majority of the drivers, those who do make a mistake, most of the time it will be at Moss Corner. So we're looking at Elvis Rankin, number 1 in the Ferrari 488 GT3, the current championship leader in the GT3 category, but only by 3 points. Unfortunately, he had to miss the last, very unusual to see him miss a Ricmotech Monday night event, but he was away driving a Lucas Oil Formula car. Of course, Elvis drives a lot in the real world as well as the virtual world, and as you can see tonight, we have what we've got here. We are well, Jeff Jacobs. He's going to get himself a cold beverage. He's in the kitchen.
Bobby Shaw's getting us a nice showing of his, I believe that's a Ricmotech setup he's got going on right there. You can see him driving along, as well as Arthur Chan. Both these drivers, I think most of these drivers preferring a triple screen setup. Actually, all of them are.
There's Jeff Jacobs. We also saw that Arthur Chan there had a Porsche Sport design wheel. So I wonder, that looks like either an exact replica or exactly the same wheel as the one from a road car. So I wonder if he went down to his local junkyard and got one out.
Just chopped one out?
Yeah, maybe. We'll need to
I've
find
heard
out.
of drivers doing that. I've also heard drivers trying to put their sim racing wheel on the real life car. More
Probably
horror
not
story
advisable.
than actual success story.
Yes, probably not advisable. So here, if you're new to the Ricmotech GT Challenge, first of all, welcome. We hope you enjoy this broadcast. And we have two different classes here in this series. We have the GT cars, which are signified by red numbers on the side and red mirrors as well. And then we have the GT3s, which are signified by green mirrors and green numbers on the sides. So, well, before we have a little look closer into the competitors in each class, let's take a brief break to have a look at a very handy track guide with thanks to our sponsors, Ricmotech High Performance Sim Racing Equipment. Check it out.
Welcome, everyone, to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, located here in Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today in the BMW M8 around this beautiful 2.5-mile road course. Canadian Tire was originally named Motorsports and was built in the late 1950s, and its first major event was held in August of 1961, with Sterling Moss getting the win in his Lotus 19, hence the name of turns 5A and B, Moss Corner. Well, let's begin our track guide around this beautiful road course here as we get ready to head up the front straightaway. We'll get up through the gears. You'll notice the flag stand on the left as we cross the start-finish line down into this blind entry into turn 1. Very fast corner. Hold on to your hat. It's going to be a quick lap. Up out of 1, we swing out wide to track out for turn 2. Blind entry down the hill here, wide open, up into 5th gear. We're going to track out nice. Get a good sweeping entrance into 3 here. Down into 3rd gear, we're going to roll that center, get right down to the curb, come right back to throttle and pin it all the way down this short straight into the blind entry of turn 4. 6th gear, down this hill, hard on the brakes, into Moss Corner, turn 5. Up the crest, brush of the brake, get the car to land right at the bottom, come right back to throttle, up into 3rd, up into 4th, and out onto Andretti straight. We came out of 5C back there. We're making this slight right of turn 6 here on Andretti straight, and another slight right, turn 7. This will take us up the crest here into another heavy braking zone, down into the sweeper and into the S's. 4th gear through this corner, take a little bit of curb, down into 3rd, keep it tight. Out of the S's of 9, into turn 10, and right back to throttle out of that bumpy, undulating final corner and across the stripe. There's your very fast and furious lap here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Thank you for being with us.
So welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And if you are watching and if you're of a certain vintage and you're thinking, I've never heard of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, you might have heard the term Motorsport, and of course that was the circuit's original name before it was renamed Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. A 2.5-mile circuit in Bowmanville, Ontario, carved from the local rolling farmland, a wonderful design circuit. It was actually founded by the British Empire Motor Club, designed by Alan Bunting, with some consultation from a certain Sterling Moss, who actually won the first race at Motorsport in a Lotus 19. So quite a lot of heritage at this site. Of course, in normal circumstances, we'd welcome the IMDA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship to the circuit as well. Now, Austin, why don't you tell us about the differences between these GTE and GT3 machines, because they look very similar, but underneath the skin they are quite different.
Yeah, especially if you compare the Ferrari GT3s to the Ferrari GTEs, which are, you can take a magnifying glass to the body of these cars, and the only thing you can tell different is the little pro thing right there. But GT3s, they have driver assist, traction control, brake assist, things that keep the car on the road, and less power compared to our big hunkin' GTE cars right here. As well, the GTEs, more power, no ABS and a little bit of traction control, but that is just the base comparison that I can give you with the GTEs compared to GT3s. GT3s also have a BOP on them to widen the gap between the GTEs and GT3s, because trust me, I believe if these GT3s were let loose and Elvis was let loose, I believe he would be on the tail end of some of these GTE cars.
Yes, he does. Certainly, he is he's pretty quick at the wheel of his GT3 machine. As you can see, our pole sitter in the GTE class with the red numbers is Denis Savretic, the championship leader, at 111.352, 0.6 of a second quicker than the Porsche 911 RSR of Mike W. Just a second off the pace as well in third. So a qualifying performance from her. It was ranking on pole position in GT3. As you can see there, 4 seconds in lap delta between the GTE cars and the GT3. But as you mentioned, Austin, we have a customized balance of performance adjustment for the GT3 class, where they have 5% of their power reduced, and the idea is to help them to make them a little bit easier to pass on the straights. Of course, we're racing over 90 minutes tonight, so there's going to be there's going to be a factor with lap traffic. Of course, the lap here at Motorsports doesn't take very long either, as you can see, just over 70 seconds. So traffic is going to be a bit of an issue, and I tell you, this Moss corner, this double right-hander, is going to be an issue as well.
Yeah, very tricky braking zone, going up that steep hill. Like, right when you're at the very bottom of the hill, I wanted to call it the apex of the hill, but that would not make any sense. It kind of curves right a bit, but once you get to the very bottom of the hill, you slam on the brakes, and then you kind of have to lift off. It's a very short corner. It's such a hard corner, because you're letting gravity do most of the work. It's just like at Sakona, just smaller, much more narrower, and it turns right instead of left. But you're a good exit out there leads onto the Mario and Ready Straight, and that's where you're seeing most of the passing there today. A good exit out corner gets you lined up right behind the car in front of you, and if you're in that draft just right, make it right before you get into that long right-hander into the S's at the end of the lap.
Indeed, so just a few of the drivers just out there finishing off their qualifying runs. And as you can see, it's very overcast today here in the simulation at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and that overcast conditions will keep the track temperature nice and cool, which is exactly what the tyres need to perform at their absolute best. Not too cold, of course, but that won't be a problem here. But when the track gets too hot, they can kind of be very greasy and sort of slip and slide around, and it's not quite as quick. So perfect conditions here for some fast lap times. So there's no excuses out there today, and of course, as you mentioned, also coming to the end of the Mario and Reggie straightaway, that's where you can get a move done. And actually, look, we've seen a number of drivers around there slinging it around the outside of the entry and then getting the inside line for the switchback here.
Yeah, the outside line is very preferred on the entry to get that very inside line, but I've seen a few races here where the guy on the inside line heading into that long right-hander turn has the advantage, especially on the last lap, where they can get the elbows out a little bit more and, push the other guy into the grass. Well, that's the NASCAR strategy, at least.
Yeah, of course, the NASCAR trucks, of course, have a visit here, which is always highly entertaining race for those guys. We're looking at Jeff Jacobs, the Gator, and we did manage to find out that he was a Floridian and had gone to the Florida University, so he is a Florida Gator, hence the Gator paint scheme on this booming Mercedes AMG GT GT3. 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 mounted at the front of that car, so it's a very different machine to the mid-engine Ferraris and also the mid-engine Audi, but balanced out to be very, very close in pace. But this Mercedes, it's a really raceable car, very stable, and maybe not quite so good through the changes of direction, but very, very predictable and easy to put consistent lap times in.
Yeah, it's very good beginner's GT3 car. Very stable, very easy to understand, and very understandable to catch in a mistake.
Indeed. So we look at on screen, the number 32, Kevin Ford, our series organizer. He's running a very nice livery on that Ferrari 488 in the Ricmotech colours, and he's backed out of this lap. So he's going to pull it over and tow back to pit lane, I think.
I think he thought about towing it back to pit lane, then he probably realized that he was on camera.
Possibly. Well, if you can hear us, Kevin, if you've got the radio on in that Ferrari, hello. Hope you're enjoying qualifying. And interestingly, the delta in time there, Austin, in the GT3 class is very, very close. Kevin is in 8th place right now, but only just under 0.7 of a second off pole. But in GTE, there's quite a bit of a spread. You've got Jen Mcdonald in 4th, a second off the pace of Denis Savretic. So it's going to be, it's going to be another case of who can catch Denis Savretic, but in GT3, it's going to be close.
It certainly is. Mike Dam's going to be having trouble keeping up with Dennis for most of this race until he catches the GT3 cars, because just look at the times. All the way from 1st, all the way to 9th place and 10th place. Bobby Childs is barely in there on 10th, just outside that 1 second gap, but everybody in the top 10 within a second of Elvis Rakin. And if they stay within that pace for most of this race, the traffic that these guys are going to be making is going to be nightmare fuel for these GT3 drivers.
So let's have a quick look at how the championship standings look at the moment. It's the class of the field really has been Denis Savretic. He leads on 118 points from Mike Dam. In 3rd is Travis Schwenke on 98, with Jen Mcdonald on 91 points in 4th. Justin Corral tied with his Aquila Racing teammate of Orion Collins. After that, we have Arthur Chan, Jordi Fike, Jonathan Corral, Rafael Souza, Wakid Juanja, Aldrudo Sr., Roberto Hartley, and Miguel Al Crudo. In GT3, it is Elvis Rankin on 118 points. Just 3 points back is Cameron Martineau, who's been in an absolute charge on Ricmotech Monday nights in all 3 different series. So he is he's on a tear, but I don't think he's with us this evening. So a good chance for Elvis to extend his lead at the start of at the front of the championship. Caleb John Lavender is sitting in 3rd place right now, with Chris Thorman in 4th and David Duino in 5th. Twyla Clement in the number 5 car is sitting in 6th place, my apologies, followed by William Dillon, Bobby Childs, Jose DeOlio, Kevin Hawkinson, Tony Kernan, Jeff Jacobs, David Payton, Nathan Manning, Kevin Ford, Derek Holland, Steve Daniel, and finally Russ Ruddock. And you can see the rest of the runners there. So won't be long before the drivers are gathering up, and we'll be about ready to go here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Yeah, we're about to get ready to start going and rolling here on our grid here at beautiful and lovely Motorsport. This track is always great to come to. If you're watching on TV, it's always great to watch, but I got to say, there's nothing like actually attending a race here, because this track is just so beautiful and scenic. It's like a run through the countryside.
It really is, yeah, indeed. It's, of course, cut from local farmland and still very much old school in its feel is Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Back in Canada's, the country's centennial year, Jack Brabham won the first Canadian Grand Prix for motorcars, and Mike the Bike Halewood, won the first ever motorcycle Grand Prix as well. So the cars gathering up behind the pace car, and we will soon be ready to go.
Yeah, we're all lined up and ready to go here at Motorsport. And you want to know a very corner that is very overlooked. It's turn 3. That right hand, the second right-hander, you got that first turn, very sharp right-hander, then it's followed by that long left hand that drops off, and it has that miles of grass into of grass, which a lot of drivers get caught up in. And then turn 3 gets called, has a certain nickname that I like to call. It's called Graveyard because, well, the amount of incidents I've seen at turn 3 outnumbers every single other part of this track.
That's an interesting one. Of course, it's named Quebec, of course. Very typical Canadian name as well, of course.
It's also Sterling Moss's favorite corner of this track.
Yeah, is it really? Interesting. Interesting. So I have to say, I love the run down into turn 2, into Clayton, that blind left-hander. Especially in a car with a lot of aero grip. I remember doing a race here in the LMP2 car, the old Acura HPD. Oh my goodness, it's so satisfying coming over there in that car. But for me, I think Moss Corner is always going to really throw up a lot of problems. We see it an awful lot, particularly, I would say, for the GTE runners, because braking is really, really difficult into Moss Corner with the changes in elevation. And with no anti-lock braking system in those cars, it's going to cause a few issues, I would imagine. So, the Porsche 911 pace car pulls away. Behind is Dennis Savretic, who will pace the field into 90 minutes of action. We'll come on to various fuel permutation and strategies as the race progresses. But really, I tell you what, Austin, Mike Dam's got his work cut out here, because the Porsche 911 RSR that he's at the wheel of has been given a 10 kilogram relative performance adjustment for this race, 10 kilograms addition, not subtraction. So on the Mario Andretti straightaway, he's going to be a bit of a sitting duck to the renowned fast BMW in the straight line.
Yeah, that BMW is going to be chasing out that Porsche very easily, but that Porsche really got that penalty after the performance he was putting in at Mid-Ohio last time by, and Mid-Ohio was just very interesting to watch that race up the front. And these Porsches just a little bit too good in the cornering. So the governing body here at Extreme Motorsports decided to put it to a vote, and they decided to give them a 10 kilogram adjustment.
Well, we will see how it plays out over the race. Well, it certainly hasn't slowed Mike Dam up in qualifying, that's for sure, because qualifying second for this race. We see George Fike in the sole for GT, and also Arthur Chan in the sole Ferrari machine as well. So we've got, I was about to say we've got all the GTE cars represented, but of course that's not true. Next season we will have the C8R. So let's hear what our race marshal has to say.
And the LMP2.
Mm-hmm.
Marshall giving them the pack up and line up request for both the classes, as Dennis Savretic is leading out the GTE field into the S's, and he's about to get the command to go green.
Yep, and as the zone is just after this left-hander here, so we could see Dennis Savretic going quite early. Let's see what he chooses to do. It's his choice. We have to wait for him to pounce. So we're in the zone now. So then, green here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in the Ricmotech GT Challenge. Dennis Savretic leads in a commanding way into turn 1 with Mike Dam in his slipstream. Through they go, nice run from the GTE. Let's go to the GT3 runners.
Our GT3 field is just coming out of the S's and heading to Onboard. Elvis Rankin getting the field lined up and ready to go. He gets command and off they go.
Off they go then. Elvis Rankin, look at that, just having a quick little weave there in the Ferrari just to try and get a little bit of tire temperature in, and oh my goodness me, Elvis Rankin is in the wall from turn 1. That Ferrari has snapped and bit him hard, and that is something we do not see very often at all. And Jeff Jacobs, the Gator, he is off in his Mercedes. Wow, that is something I did not expect to see, Austin.
I am speechless right now. We have never seen Elvis Rankin make a mistake at the start of this race, but will ever make a mistake. Really, in most of his races, this is the first one that I can say, but he's dropped down to last place in the GT3 field, and this is going to be a recovery drive for Elvis Rankin.
It really will be, yes. And of course, on cold tyres, the mid-engine Ferraris, once it's up to temperature, it's a nice, predictable car, but obviously on the cold tyres there, just broke away, and even with someone of Elvis Rankin's car control, it bit him hard there and into the wall, the tyre wall. So we'll see how much damage he's got, and we'll need to keep a close eye on his pace. But that changes this race completely. So let's get an onboard replay then from Elvis's car. So here we go. Comes in, does he clip the curb? No, it just goes on him.
It's just too much. It's just too much mustard throughout the corner. Opening lap, opening tires. Very cold tires. You just put in a little bit too much, and you got traction control on that car, but even the traction control can't save a little bit too much on the loud pedal.
Yeah, just doing just that little bit over eager, and it's yeah. Once the car started to rotate, there was no catching it at all. So a completely new complexion now. We've got Jeff Jacobs out front in the Mercedes, followed by Tony Kernan, Chris Norman, and David Payton as well. So it's it's a huge, it's a Mercedes locomotive in front of a train of Ferrari 488 GT3 machines. So Tyler Clement, he's going to have a go round the outside of David Payton. Does he? He has a good strong look. Oh, maybe a tiny
He's got his nose in there.
This is not the last lap, folks. This is lap number 3 of a 90-minute race, and he is really in a mood to get moving. Is Tyler Clement, and as you can have a look down into turn 1, this is a bold move as well.
It's bold and it's daring, and he's riding up on that curb. Side by side they go, not touching each other, but can he keep it through turn 2? He's going to be on the outside here. If he tries to push him, we'll be off in that grass. Lets him back by. Great battling right here between Tyler and David.
David's probably thinking, calm down, you maniac. It's 90 minutes to go.
We're only 3 minutes into this.
Tyler Clement, he is wanting to get past and make his way to the front. Meanwhile, Kevin Ford, he's sitting there. He's got a grandstand ticket.
Jeff Jacobs, the gator's off.
Jacobs is off and just pulls into the path of Kevin Ford, but I think they avoid contact. Well, Moss Corner has claimed its first victim, and that is Jeff Jacobs. Let's see. We'll hopefully get a little look at that in just a moment, what happened to Jeff, but what a pity.
It's got to be classic Motorsport, just taking a little bit too much in there. May have clipped the curb on entry, but now we have our third leader in the GT3 class. It is Tony Kernan, and Mike Dam has fallen down all the way to 6 in GTEs.
Oh no, so he's obviously made a mistake somewhere. 9 seconds off the leader. So that allows already Denis Savretic, my word, he's into a 5-second lead already at the front of this race. And I have to say, of any of the tracks we've come to, this has got to be a BMW track for me. And well, that is proving to be the case right now. But also Denis Savretic definitely been the class of the field so far this year. So riding aboard with Tyler Clement, and try as he might, he cannot get past David Payton. He is wowie. Did that catch you as well, Austin? My word.
Peter, I think it's time for you to use your favorite quote you've acquired.
Well, the car was very snaky in the braking there. I don't know if that was snaking or just like, that
panic.
Was full-on tank slapper there. Wow.
I think it was sideways in like corner entry. The fact that he saved it and kept going and hasn't really lost a lot of time to David Payton is very impressive. So we look at Jennifer Mcdonald. She's up into 3rd in the GTE category in her big Beamer.
Brilliant stuff.
Actually, the front 3 of the entire GTEs is BMW.
It is, yep. Certainly the dominant car, it would appear. Of course, Jen, she does drive BMW in the real world and takes it out on track quite regularly as well. But last week in the sports car series, of course, we have a GT4 category with the choice of a Porsche Cayman or a BMW M4 GT4, and probably gives you an impression of just how dominant the Porsche is in that category. Even though Jen is a BMW owner, she still chose the Porsche Cayman. So poor old BMW M4, no, it's getting no love. Apart from Kevin Ford, of course, he was wheeling that car around too. So yeah, so here we go then. We're back with the GT3 guys, and David Payton still holding off Tyler Clement, and maybe Tyler just decided that moment is bound to have grabbed his attention and maybe thought, do you know what, maybe I might just back it off a couple of percent.
Yeah, backing off at the early parts of this race is probably a good idea. Work the pace, stay with the guys in front of him, stay in that draft, and you can try to start pulling away from the field behind you. And it also gives you a little bit more time to rethink, refocus on the line, focus on your tires a little bit more. And if the time's right, you could end up getting some freebies from a mistake up in front. As we're watching Tyler get a match from the car of David Payton, Tyler just put in the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, and of course the toll will up at the Mario Andretti straightaway. Of course, is long enough, and of course uphill in incline. So the draft will be pretty important here, and also for fuel consumption as well. We're expecting the GT3 runners to run for about 71 laps here over the course of this race, and they will have a pit window. They can come in as early as lap 29, and they will run out of fuel on lap 43 or around that number. For the GTE cars, we're expecting them to run 76 laps, and their fuel window, the earliest they can come in is lap 31, and they're likely run out of fuel on lap 45. So Tyler Clement, he might just think, well, maybe just like you say, not only can just stay there and keep life in the tyre, because in a 90-minute race, I wouldn't expect these GT cars to want to go in for tyres.
Yeah, it was seen in the GT4 and the sports car and classic sprint series as well. All these guys, the winning strategy has been taking tires, but in the GT series, it is completely opposite, because they have a set pit time for tires, and it's immediately after all the fuel, so it's a lot longer than all the other classes. So I do not think we're going to be seeing drivers be taking tires here today. So tire life is going to be a massive talking point here today, especially later at the end of this race. But the weather is going to be very easy for these guys to manage these tires.
Yeah, well, of course, particularly the opening section here at Motorsport, you're putting massive load on the tyres, and on pretty much equally across the two as well, both sides. I mean, it's just like plenty of left-right switchbacks in kind of third, fourth, sometimes even fifth gear. So, you really are beating the tyre hard. So for Tyler Clement, where he is, he's in that blue and black Ferrari in fourth place in class. He's actually in a really good spot here. He can just sort of follow the train and just try and just minimize those steering inputs, just breathe off the throttle that little bit earlier and just ease on that little bit more gently. But he's kind of getting towed along by the aerodynamic slipstream effect as well. So he's in the right spot. He's had his go at trying to get past. David Payton said, "No, you don't. I'm not going to give away the place that easy." And Tyler probably thought, "Well, I'll just sit here and plod along behind you."
Well, Tyler has been relaxing a bit, but I feel like he knows that he can be faster, because Tony Kanaan is pulling away for both Thornton and Payton right behind him.
Yeah, that's the only worry, isn't it? Yes, Tony Kanaan, he's up to just over a second advantage right now. So the D2D Esports guys behind of Thorman and Payton, they've got to work together as much as they can to try to catch up with Tony. But he's flying in that wonderful, beautiful, stealthy black, the Black Bomber number 7. Coming through. I have to admit, I love this car's paint scheme. Very simple. That blue stripe, though, just makes it pop. It does. Yeah, it absolutely does. As we see now already, a little bit of traffic to deal with for the GTE runners. Looking at the 87 there. The this is where you can easily get caught out. So you see two Ferraris there. One has a red windshield strip, one has a green windshield strip. The green one is a GT3 car, the red one is a GTE car. So this is the GTE runners are already starting to come onto the back of some of the GT3 cars. So already we're into traffic management.
Yeah, we're watching the back of our GTE field right now as Mike Dam and Arthur Chan racing with each other. Mike just following the back end, tried to look around the outside, but unfortunately was not going to be working for him right there. So heading into Moss Corner. Ooh, Mike showed the inside door. See if trying to catch Arthur out if he was looking for his moves.
He's definitely been sizing him out. That is for certain. So we're riding on board with Mike Dam. He's now coming up behind Arthur Chan in the Ferrari we saw last time out at Mid-Ohio. Arthur defending so well. Some brilliant, clean defensive driving. You'll see there the little bit of radio chatter coming along. That's the drivers chatting back and forth to one another, and I suspect that is Jen Mcdonald giving a polite thank you to the GT3 car runners.
I didn't hear any transmission coming over the radio, but I can translate that's probably what is being said. A little kind thank you for letting me by.
I think it's probably...
it certainly wasn't long enough to be a chewing out of the ear.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And of course, nothing particularly controversial appears to have happened on track. So yes, I would suspect it's just a polite thank you there from Jen Mcdonald. So these Ferraris just settling into the pace, but Tony Kernan, he is going that little bit quicker, isn't he? He's opening up that gap further again, nearly up to 2 seconds now. And Tyler Glamet, he's going
Tyler
for the switchback. Here it comes. But David Payton, he goes, I've seen that move before, young man. I know what to do.
Yeah, it's a very ambitious move on corner entry, but he's going to try to swing it around the outside this time. He went down the inside a few laps ago, but now he's going to swing it around the outside. And at the exit, Tyler Giomet is up into third.
So he gets the move done. Now we will see if Tyler Giomet has the pace to get past. Of course, he's now got to get past Chris Thorman. That's not going to be an easy feat either. But once he does get past, or if he does get past, then he's got a lot of chasing down to do of Tony Kernan. And just to throw a little fly in the ointment, here come the GTE cars, and that could really shuffle the pack a little bit more. But Denis Savretic, he is just going into his groove right now. Nearly 7 seconds ahead at the front of the GTE field. So it's Denis Savretic, and we see him do this so many times, Austin. When he gets into this groove, it is so hard to upset that rhythm.
It is very hard. You can already see on how much that BMW power is, and the difference in power between the GTEs and the GT3s. At the back of the Mario Andretti straight and entering the S's, he's already on the back of it. Speaking of already on the back, Tyler Giomet is looking down the inside once again, this time looking for Chris Thorman, and up into second place. Deja vu, different car, same team. Woo, Tyler's flying.
He really is.
No, Chris is off.
Oh dear. Oh. That is so unfortunate there for Chris Thorman. He just got onto the outside line, and someone there. Oh, one of the other DTD cars following him in. I think that was Bobby Childs.
It was.
And I suppose that's what makes that Clayton corner so satisfying and so exciting to drive, because if you get it wrong, it's a massive crash. Of course, you get onto what's now known as green ice or grass on iRacing, and there is no way of stopping.
Yeah, green ice, grass is pretty much the same, and especially here in Canada, if it gets below 30, it will be ice.
Yeah, the grass in Canada particularly slippy, of course, for in the colder temperatures. So that changes the GT3 once more. Now, where is Elvis Rankin out on?
I think he retired for the race.
Oh, right, okay. So that's interesting. So this is, I wonder if Cameron Martineau is tuning in this evening and is probably thinking he was going to lose more ground to Elvis Rankin, but that's not going to be the case with Elvis not scoring any points.
I saw Cameron in our YouTube chat, but I don't think he was staying for the race mainly. I didn't read what he actually wrote, but I did see his name in there.
Okay, so he might well, I'm sure he will get to see the race at some point, or at least see the result, and he'll be thinking, well, that wasn't expected. It certainly wasn't expected here in the commentary box. I don't think it was expected from anyone in the entire Ricmotech paddock. So, well, this blows the GT3 field right open. I mean, GTE, Dennis of Reddick is just putting on a clinic right now, but in GT3 we've got Kerman, Jamet, David Payton, Jeff Jacobs, Kevin Forbes, all within 10 seconds of the lead. But both did not that good a start for D2D Esports. Both Chris Thorman and Bobby Childs effectively following one another into the barrier.
Yeah, incredibly unfortunate for both of those guys, and you just kind of hate to see that happen.
Yeah, it was almost as if Bobby Childs crashed in sympathy. Speaking of, my word, it's another D2D. Now, who is that?
It's David Payton.
Oh, right. Okay, so David Payton in the grey and green accented car.
And he's off.
Oh, they're dropping like flies here.
Are there any other D2D cars on track right now?
Well, they are depleting. God, at this rate, Austin, we'll be getting an early finish. We'll be able to have a pint.
I don't drink, though.
Well, you can have milk. I'll have a beer.
All right. I'll just have a cup of milk. I'm no Lena Norris. I don't drink pints of milk.
Well, that's quite a British thing, is a pint of milk.
Yeah, I don't really know what a pint is.
Not far off half a litre. Similar.
What's a litre?
You know what it is. So, about a quarter of a litre.
Alright, I know what that is.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. So let's have a replay then of what happened to Chris Thorman. Now, Travis Schwenke is behind him. This is the screen on the right we're looking at. Travis Schwenke goes by and...
it's the grass.
Just
Really
got
nice.
such a small scrape on the wall. I'm actually surprised that he decided to pull it over and get a tow there, because it was a very, very small brush with the wall. I wouldn't have expected him to get the meatball flag to come in and repair the damage, Austin.
Well, the iRacing gods are incredibly strange sometimes with their damage model. I know some small scrapes would be even greeted with no penalty, not even contact. And then sometimes the caller just taps the front and then boom goes her engine. So we might need to talk about to what happened really to David, if it was just a driver thing or if there was damage on the stars. Mike Dam looks down the inside.
Oh, Mike
sends it up there.
He's really on a charge. He goes past Jen McDonald there into the S's and now through whites. Of course, made a bit of an error at the early stages of the race. So does Mike Dam then have the pace to challenge Dennis Sabretic? Well, we've been running for about 20 minutes so far, and Mike Dam has only dropped about 3 seconds from that time, from when he made that mistake. He's only dropped about 3 seconds off Dennis Sabretic. So he's in the ballpark, he's in the game, and well, maybe with a little bit of a strategy play, you never know. He could be right up there for this race win. And I tell you what, that it might not have the grunt in the straight line that the BMW does, but that Porsche has two real...
Mike Dam's off.
Oh no. Oh,
he's got
dear
wing
me.
damage too, and might have got punted by another car back there.
Oh, I can't believe I missed that. Dear me, I'm so sorry, dear viewer. Well spotted, Austin. Well, disregard everything I just said, because I've now null and void.
Oh, that counts as commentator's curse.
Whoa, that was a big commentator's curse, wasn't it? I was planning Mike Dam's world
domination. Oh, he's crabbing
there.
down the straight. Mike Dam is crabbing down the straight.
So we're going to get a replay then.
What happened to Mike Dam? Should be coming up on y'all's screen right about now.
So,
Mike
there's
Dam on the
Moss
right.
corner.
Oh, he's just full speed into there, just very little on the brake, and there's that wing damage. So he wasn't even near anybody. It was just all on his own.
Yeah, just lost it on the brakes. Yeah, I think it just on the brakes. I think Austin, we mentioned it before the broadcast, of course, coming into...
Just look at that crab.
Oh, that's horrible. When you come into Moss Corner, you're going very sharply downhill and then very sharply uphill, and you're just sort of, like you say, just like turn 1 at Kota, you're braking on the uphill and the car can get quite unsettled. It's almost like, oh God, what am I doing? So you see, this is a good example here. It's very, very challenging part of the circuit. One of the most, I would say, one of the trickiest corners in North America, actually. And, well, if it can catch Mike Dam out, it can catch anybody out. Mike Dam is a very, very consistent driver. So, that does change things. But it gives great opportunities to, well, Travis Schwenke, he's only 20 points off the championship lead. And he's currently sitting in 3rd place. And he will, if he stays where he is, he will leapfrog Mike Dam, who's in 2nd. So, a good chance for Travis Schwenke to make some ground.
As you see, the GT3 field is now passing Mike Dam, who I believe this is going to be the end of his race. Competitively the end of his race. He might come back out on track and just enjoy driving around, because I know some of those guys who just enjoy driving laps and doing laps because they just enjoy driving. And oh no, Orion Collins is off the track now.
Oh well, so this is becoming very much a race of attrition, and that's coming up the
very beat up.
That is a very beat up race car. No, that was now coming to Moss, so I suppose he's maybe lost it around Clayton or Quebec possibly. But yeah, very much a race of attrition here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. But let's have a look then. What happened there was coming through Clayton, the very fast right-hander, down towards Quebec, turn 3, loses it on the brakes. Oh God, yeah, just carries a little bit too much speed. Tries to catch it. Oh, and it snaps on him. That's horrible.
That's a car killer right there.
Yep.
Thankfully, that Porsche is rear engine, so no engine damage right there, but that is just a lot of damage that's going to be hurting them. We just got a quote from Bobby Childs. He's, quote, pretty hot right now, and I think it just means he's fuming.
Well, it's...
unless we're talking about looks.
So, yeah, a race of attrition here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. But it's an interesting point, Austin. We talk about the drivers. You know, there could be drivers who... there could be a little bit of benefit here for those drivers who refuse to throw in the towel. And, you know, regardless of how much damage they have or whatever, they come into pit lane. And even if they're in pit lane for 10, 20, 15 minutes, the amount of drivers who have actually left the session, who so have retired, there could be points still to grab, which could play a big part as we come into the season. You know, if you look in GTE, the points are incredibly close, you know, 20 points covering the top 3, and in GT3 it's even closer. So, you know, there is opportunity for those that just want to keep plodding around.
Yeah, points are definitely out there on the table for these guys, and this might throw an entire wrench into the championships of both these series, and I think it's going to scramble up some of the championship standings, especially after this race.
It certainly will. Yeah, I think we might even see Mike Dam drop to 4th position. Actually, I think Jen Mcdonald, if she can stay where she is on the podium, she could gather a good bunch of points and actually hop past Mike Dam as well, along with Travis Schwenke. So it's all to play for here. Also, Arthur Chan in the leading GTE Ferrari.
Only GTE Ferrari.
Exactly, yeah, indeed. So there is plentiful opportunities out there as well. And of course, Tony Kernan leading by 1.3 seconds from Tyler Jemet. So Tyler Jemet, he is on the charge. So he's finally been able to clear his competitors, and he is hunting down Kernan. So this is going to be a fascinating battle between the number 5 and the number 7 of Tony Kernan. So they are at the moment they're on lap 22. So still 7 laps to go before the earliest possible pit stop for the GT3 guys, and about 9 laps to go before the GTE guys can come in.
Yeah, we're looking at Tyler right now as Tony Kernod is dealing with George Schwenke, and he's actually giving George a little bit of some trouble as he's trying to get that very wide forward around that Ferrari of Tony. And Tony is that the block?
I wonder. Well, of course, George Schwenke, he is sort of one of the not in the front runners of the GTE class. So actually, the delta in lap time between the fastest GT3s and the back of the pack of the GTE is actually not that much. So that's caused a little bit of an issue there for George Schwenke to get through cleanly. And look what that's done. The gap's now down to half a second, and Tyler Jemet is right on the case of Tony Kanaan.
Well, I think that's why Tony was just not really giving up the spot. He's trying to stay as far away from Tyler, and Tyler is right on the back of Tony in front of him as they enter the S's. And very different driving styles these guys have. Tony is a little bit more active on the brakes. He likes to stab the brake pedal compared to what Tyler does. And we get a good shot of these guys' brake lights going into the corners. You can see that differing braking style at work.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, with these cars with the ABS, if you've got that slightly stabby braking style, the ABS can help you and also hinder you, because it can stop you from having lockups that you would have in a car without anti-lock braking. But of course, when you're a car if you're triggering the ABS too much, it can really upset the car under braking and makes it very difficult to get the car to turn in as well. So it's amazing to see the contrast in styles between these two guys. Of course, the car identical, but they do have the flexibility to set the car up how they wish. And of course, here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, it's a really difficult circuit to set the car up, because of course here you've got this big long drag strip that is the Mario Andretti straightaway, where really you need a Le Mans spec car. And then you go into the opening sector, which is more like Suzuka, where you need huge amounts of downforce, the most amount of downforce you can. But of course, those are two kind of conflicting interests, and trying to get that nice balance and trying to get the optimum lap time is really hard.
Yeah, that's where these setup wizards who have these cars figured out go. But there's always somebody who just finds out that little tiny secret, and well, only they know, and you'll just see them just start flying away from the field. And I can tell you, Dennis Severtech does have that setup wizard in his pocket.
I think he's got
he is that setup wizard.
Well, he's whatever setup he's got in it is working, and he's however it's set up, he's dragging every last bit of pace out that car. Now, this is an amazing battle going on now for the final spot on the podium between Jen McDonald and Arthur Chan. So it's front-engined twin-turbo V8 BMW versus mid-engined twin-turbo V8 Ferrari. And interestingly, this Ferrari, so even in the standard street trim, this car has 660 horsepower, which is just mad for a road car. But the racing car only has about 500 because it needs to be balanced out for racing, for the balance of performance regulations. The BMW, however, has 560 in race trim. So and it's actually lighter than the Ferrari in race trim as well. But it's as you can see, not the most aerodynamic thing in the world that is the BMW.
Oh, as they're going to Moss corner, Jen had a little bit of a wiggle mid-corner, and Arthur had to go on the outside, and he was closing in hot on Jen. And unfortunately, both of them had to check up mid-corner, both due to separate mistakes.
You could say that she was sneaky in the braking there on the way into Moss Corner, but held on to it.
It was more like a wheel hop, not really snaky.
Yep, well, it was well held nonetheless. So a really fierce battle going on here between Jen McDonald and Arthur Chan. Into turn one they go. Big commitment corner there. You see some drivers like to kind of hug the wall and then run out, and others prefer a little bit of a later apex. And then, oh, I just love that corner, Clayton corner. We know Bobby Childs does not love that corner.
I think the entire DTD team is going to take a sledgehammer and try to office space that corner.
Yep, you got to tell them if they're feeling sad, try it in a P2 car. It's much nicer. It's
or a
much
car
more
with
fun.
big giant wings. And Jennifer, she locked down Sterling Moss corner right there as Arthur Chan's fallen back 3/10 just through that corner.
Yeah, I think that was just Jen. You're right. She just whipped it around there, around Moss Corner. So using that stability of that BMW to really good effect. And then interestingly, through the changes of direction, the mid-engine Ferrari just seems to be able to change direction that little bit earlier.
Going to the pits.
Now, this is interesting because according to my calculations, which is not much to go on, and also information handed to me, this is early for Arthur Chan. I mean, I understand that the earliest we really expected any of the GTE runners to pit was on lap 31. And Austin, I don't know about you, I wouldn't have said that Arthur Chan was getting held up there.
No, it wasn't getting held up at all, so this is mind-boggling. I'm not sure of the strategy right here that he went into the pits a bit earlier, well, way earlier, because unless he's like betting on himself getting lapped by Dennis, but this is very odd from Arthur Chan, who goes into the pits.
Yeah, it's certainly an alternative strategy play. I mean, there was a bit of GT3 traffic up ahead, but Jen has been able to dispatch of them quite easily. That's really strange because you'd maybe actually say, if I was to say if it was one or the other, I would say that Jen was maybe towing Arthur Chan around there, to be honest, especially on the straight with the BMW with its power.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, that will be interesting to see how that plays out over the rest of this race.
He didn't take tires at all, so I guess we're gonna have to find out very soon as we're here watching the GT Challenge Series here at Motorsport. We'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Well, we are being treated to a really intriguing race here in both classes, in the GTE and GT3 field. And really, well, Arthur Chan has just played a slightly unusual strategy game in the sense that I don't actually think that he might be able to get home on the tank of fuel that he has, Austin. It's going to be tough to see how that one's going to play out.
It's a very bold move there, Con, and we're definitely going to see how this one pays off.
Yeah, we certainly will. We certainly will indeed. So,
quote, one of my favorite movies of all time.
And mine. Yeah, I remember getting the DVD of Dodgeball for my 15th birthday and watching it. And I don't know how many times I've seen that film, but it never gets old. I love it.
I think I took the training scene a little bit too literally with my racing career.
I think so. So, Tony Kanaan, now this is interesting. Tony Kanaan, it looked like Tyler Jemet was just reeling in Tony Kanaan and looked like it was more a matter of when rather than if he was going to pass. But Tony has just steadied the ship a little bit and holding off, keeping Tyler Jemet at bay. So it'll be interesting to see how they play their strategy, because we are now into the pit window for the GT3 runners, so they could pit right now and make their way to the end of the race without having to stop again. But to me, Austin, I think if you're in clean air, you just got to keep going and run that thing dry.
If you're out in front and you're just pounding in the lap times, yeah, you run that baby dry till it's drier than the desert. Because, hey, you got something that works, just keep hammering it down.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, only 2.5 miles round, about 70 to 75 second lap times depending on class. So there isn't an awful lot of room out there on circuit. So if you do have that comfy space out on track, you've got to make the most of it. So who is going to blink first then in this GT3 field? Just to confirm, we have Mike Dam. He is still in the session. He is in pit lane, so he's taking his repairs. He has not left the session. So Mike Dam clearly wishing to hang on and try and gather. He's been in the
pits for 15 minutes.
Yeah, but he could easily have, with the suspension damage, he could have 30 minutes of repairs. I mean, his car was in a really, really bad way. So whatever repairs he has, they will be significant. That's for sure. But we've lost David Payton, Chris Thorman and Bobby Childs, all out of the GT3 class. But the GT3 class, they're all still running, especially Denis Savretic, who is on an absolute tear here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
You know, I think we were joking about this in Mid-Ohio, that he started almost lapping the entire field. We certainly said that with Elvis and another series where he almost completed that feat. I think we're about to see it with Dennis, as he is actually closing in on Arthur.
He is indeed, yeah, Arthur Chan. Of course, Arthur Chan has pitted, of course, remember, so we'll see. But yes, Orion Collins, 46 seconds, and he has not come into pit lane. So let's wait and see what goes on there. Now, this battle is really intriguing. Tyler Jemet, he's had to work very, very hard to get up to this position. So you've got to think, Austin, that what do you reckon? Do you think he's maybe knocked a bit of life out of his tyres, perhaps, and now thinking, I've still got just under an hour to go. I've maybe got to keep those tyres in good health.
He's a lot less aggressive on the braking than Tony is. He doesn't stab the brakes like Tony does. Tony likes to hit the brakes like one test time, then hit them again, as Tyler likes to hook the car around there on the braking, and he likes to ride the curbs just a little bit to rotate the car. But both of them using a few different driving strategies. I'm not sure which one's the more tire friendly, but I think my money would have to be on Tire Life would be Tyler, just slightly.
Tire Life Tyler. That's a good nickname to have, isn't it? Of all the nicknames you could be given, that's a good one to have. So we see Dennis.
He's going to get the draft too of this BMW.
Yeah, now this is interesting because Denis Savretic is going to come in here, and he's now sandwiched between the two GT3 runners. So this is going to be interesting to see how that shuffles it out. And we've seen a few instances where the GTE runners have made a slightly, not intentionally, but slightly pushed the GT3 cars offline, and has caused a few issues. Particularly if you go offline at Clayton, you're in big trouble. But just as I say that, Tony Kanaan puts in the fastest lap of anyone, 1:15.9, so the first man down below the 1:16 barrier, so he is really pushing on.
Yeah, just by 200ths of a second. Tyler's last lap was a 16:09, so both these guys putting in very fast times in their Ferraris. Kind of looks like the Ferrari GT3 challenge up here.
That's a bit, yeah, of course. We've
Tyler's around! He got into the grass and Tyler's around at Moss!
Oh, well.
That's a curse.
Oh.
That one's on me.
Okay, so he's and of
And
course
Jeff Jacobs is up into second now. He's back up into second after doing exactly the same thing at the start of this race.
So that shows you then just how he's just at the blink of an eye. 90 minutes is a long time to keep the concentration. So let's see what happens then to Tyler Comet.
Yeah, there's just too much in there.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, just carried too much speed and what a pity for Tyler Comet. He was really putting together a good race, but let's see what he decides to do now. He's in the pit window. Sometimes, I mean, what do you think, Austin? I mean, for me, sometimes when you make a mistake like that, and you're in the pit window, sometimes a good idea to just come in and take your pit stop and maybe just gather your thoughts and almost break that rhythm, because we see it so many times where mistakes breed mistakes, where you try to make up for lost time and then you just end up making more mistakes.
Absolutely. I'm one of those people. If I make a mistake, I'm straight into the pit lane, especially if it's in the pit window, and it's just a little bit of a I can't believe I've just done this moment. Gather my thoughts and then get back out on track with a brand new car and a new set of tires, especially if you just laid half of them onto the racetrack.
That helps too, of course. As you see, we look at Travis Schwenke just coming up to put a lap on Jeff Jacobs in the GT3 class. So now Tony Kanaan has a much more comfortable lead up at the front. However, I think Tony has just gone into pit lane because
Nope.
No, he's going slow though. There's something not right here.
He was just off track.
Oh, no. Oh, this isn't a good place to go off if this is the case. So Tony Kanaan coming into the S's just on the way down towards whites. Oh, that's huge.
No.
Oh, that's massive. Does anyone want to win this race?
I don't think so.
Oh, goodness me.
We've had 3 different leaders so far in the GT3 category. Elvis Rankin went off in turn 1. Jeff Jacobs went off in Moss Corner. And Tyler Giometti just, Tony Kanaan just went straight off in, turn 5. And Tyler on the charge for the lead went off and around in Moss. I think this race might just be calling to Jeff Jacobs now, but with that damage that Tony has, Jeff Jacobs is much faster than Tony Kanaan right now. Look at that time. That relative is falling faster and faster. It's like tossing a penny off the Empire State Building. It just keeps going and going and going.
The bit that I don't understand...
And there goes Tony into the pits.
Yeah, the bit that I don't understand, Austin, is that, I mean, that was a huge shunt, and it is guaranteed that he would have incurred a lot of damage from that particular accident, and he didn't decide to go in. He went round and did another lap rather than going straight into pits to get the damage repaired. Seems a strange thing to do, but never mind. So again, Tyler, that puts Tyler Giometti right back in it, because of course the mistake he made, he didn't take any damage. So Tyler Giometti is right in this battle, and also look at it, Kevin Ford is in the battle as well for the win.
Kevin Ford surprised up there to 3rd place. And Arthur Chan's back into the pit, so the bold strategy did not work there. And yeah, that is incredibly unfortunate for him.
That is strange, because it didn't look like Arthur had taken any damage or anything like that. So I wonder what's happened. Maybe some sort of crew chief failure or something. I don't know. It doesn't seem
real life issue. Cat
possibly
sneezing on you.
Needed the toilet. Yep, you never know. Hungry, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, that's a pity, because Arthur was having a great battle with Jen Mcdonald. So the GTE field very much spread out now. Dennis Savretic, 21 seconds ahead of Travis Schwenke.
Tyler.
You've just seen what I saw. Purple.
Well, he definitely had the pace to stay with Tony. And now that he's charging in, he just put in the fastest lap of the race of a 15.88. And Jeff Jacobs last time was in the 117s. Tyler Giametti is closing in on Jeff Jacobs, and he wants that lead.
He certainly does, and he is putting in the laps to do that through Moss Corner. And now that he's kind of had his, he's almost kind of had his warning, if you like, at Moss Corner. He just maybe think he'll maybe just take that corner a
Both these
little
drivers
bit.
had.
Say again, sorry?
Both these drivers have had issues at Moss Corner.
Indeed, yes, good point. Very good point. So they've both kind of had their warning now. So this is going to be fascinating to see. Ferrari versus Mercedes. Well, it's a battle we used to have in Formula 1.
And, well, it's the battle of the pit lanes now as Jeff Jacobs is heading to the pit lane. Tyler is staying out, and Tyler, he's put in a blistering lap time. I think he's on build to do it again. 16.42 for Tyler. And Kevin Ford's up into second place, and we have our fourth different leader of the GT3 field. This time it is Tyler Giametti, and I think he's going to drain this tank right now.
I think that's got to be the play. He's just got to lay in some qualifying laps now. He's certainly been pushing hard in this Ferrari 488 GT3, which of course won the Petit Le Mans for WeatherTech Racing back on Saturday afternoon. So the car is it's a winning car, this GT3 machine. Renowned as the most expensive GT3 car in the world to run.
It's a Ferrari, so it kind of,
oh, yeah.
it kind of, you're like, yeah, I understand that.
It is indeed. So, so let's see what Tyler Giametti can lay down here. Of course, when the car is on low fuel, it of course has less weight and therefore will be quick. Travis Schwenke in pit lane, so is Dennis Savretic.
No, Travis stayed out.
Ah, right. So maybe just a little mistake on the with my interpretation of the timing screen there. My apologies. So Dennis Savretic in pit lane. Travis has gone around. The GTE fuel window, they've got another 5 laps if they want it. GT3 runners have got another 3 laps if they want it. So I would expect Tyler Giametti to just basically just lay down those qualifying laps on what effectively is a qualifying fuel load.
Yeah, last lap it was a 16.31 for Tyler. He is still out there. Travis Schwenke takes over the lead in the GTEs. Jennifer Mcdonald, she's up to second place. She hasn't gone to the pit lane yet, but she is staying on the heels of Travis. And, well, she's clear of every car behind her. And it's a pit stop party in the GT3 field.
Okay, so
as Holland and Runnick both head in there. And Travis Schwenke heads into the pit lane.
Here he comes then. Does Travis Schwenke in the number 16.
Jen staying out. Jen is staying out. Oh, I wanted to say this for a while. Ladies and gentlemen, your new leader in the GTE field, Jennifer Mcdonald. And she's on the back of Jeff Jacobs trying to get past him.
Now these two, they do race for the same team. They both race for streetsurvival.org. Although in different classes, different colour schemes, they are registered as part of the same team. So I wonder if they're in communication with one another.
Well, she just actually got on the radio, quote, "Sorry, Jeff, I think she gave him a few nudges and bumps coming out of turn 1.
That's the way to do it. So Jen McDonald, let's see if she runs right to the end of the fuel window, or if she mirrors her competitor's fuel strategy. Dennis Savretic getting back to business. he is hauling that thing, isn't he?
Man, it just seems that he was just trying to lose control, but he was on the edge of grip that entire time through there. Dennis is flying around this track.
He's been so impressive. No matter where we've gone, he has been so quick. I mean, only really at Laguna Seca did Mike Dam have the advantage on pace over Dennis. And, well, it's, Dennis has been, no matter where we've gone, he's been fast. And he gets his way past our GT3 leader, Tyler Giametti, and neither driver has to compromise on pace at all there. So, a 1 minute 16.0 for Tyler. So these quick laps could be really critical with his battle with with his battle with, now I've lost it. I've lost it with his battle with Kevin Ford.
Jeff Jacobs.
And Jeff Jacobs, yes.
Yeah, Jeff Jacobs, his last lap was a 1:18.37, but that was his lap with the pit lane. And on his out lap, he was being held up by Jennifer Mcdonald. Like, he was kind of in a swap in front of him, but we're going to be seeing the gap between Jeff and Tyler some more as the two cars in front of him, Steve and Leoski. Both of these guys are into the pit lanes right now, but Tyler is putting down the gauntlet right now.
Yeah, he's putting in those fast sectors, those fast laps. Really, really important for this strategy to work. He's got to run as hard as he possibly can. He goes around for another one, so he's running it right. The fuel light will be on in that car on his dashboard. It will be flashing at him saying, "More gas, please. I am thirsty. I am a thirsty little Ferrari. I need some fuel."
Hey, wake up! Gas now!
Yeah, that's the TeamSpeak lady. She could make a good sat-nav voice.
Yeah, she'd be a very good pit engineer. She's very attentive.
Yeah, if the driver was not driving sensibly, they'd be like, "Hey, wake up." So Tyler Giamatti, well, he's if he doesn't come in this time, then he's really been on the fuel save, because this is about as long as you will expect the GT3 runners. He's going to be the last of the GT3 runners to pit, along with Kevin Ford. Now only 7.4 seconds behind Tyler. So Kevin, the wily fox that he is just sneaking his way up into this battle for the GT3 win.
Kevin's tiptoeing his way up there, getting closer and closer to Tyler. And Tyler doesn't really sense any trouble behind him, but heck, if another lapse of judgment, it might happen, and we might have Kevin Ford taking the win as Tyler heads into the pit lane, as well does Kevin. So Kevin just hunting down Tyler ever so slightly on the same strategy. Let's see where Jeff Jacobs comes out in relation to this, but also somebody we haven't talked about, Daniel Munoz. He hasn't gone to the pit lane yet, but he's sitting in third place. Let's see what he does, as well as Jeff Jacobs. But Jeff is very far back. He's just now entering Moss Corner.
Yeah, so he's going to come out in quite a distant third place, I would suggest.
Yeah, Tyler's out right now.
Yeah, here goes Tyler. Kevin won't be far behind, you wouldn't say.
Jeff Jacobs has just lost so much time.
Pit strategy. Oh!
Kevin's...
Oh,
he's
now,
taking tires.
Yes, so as we can see, Kevin Ford's car is up on the tracks. That means that he has decided to take tires. So, that is an interesting call.
Jeff Jacobs also took tires.
Aha, so that would... Right, this is fascinating now. So, Tyler Giamatti has not taken tires.
But Kevin exited ahead of Jeff. There's Kevin, there's Jeff. Oh my goodness, Jeff was held up a lot.
He was, yeah, and tell you what, those laps on low fuel for both Kevin Ford and Tyler Giamatti have been critical. But we are now at the point where Kevin has got to be very, very careful here in that white and black Ferrari, because, of course, he's got to get those tyres up to temperature and pressure, and that can take about a lap in a lot of cases. Whereas Jeff, he is right in the groove, he's right into his rhythm, hot tyres, and he is good to go. And this Merc has got a bit of grunt as well in the straight line. So let's see. This is going to be a great battle between those two. But also, they need to be very, very careful not to slow one another up.
There's some damage on Jeff's car. Look at the front right. It's bent up just a little bit. So Jeff Jacobs is dealing with some damage on that Mercedes. It's got a partial unicorn horn formed.
Does have a little bit of a bump there, yeah, so that's interesting. Wonder if he picked that up in his opening incident at Moss Corner.
Well, he never hit the wall though.
Maybe got hit by another driver, possibly. I don't know, just a guess. But well, let's see how this one plays out, because of course both of these guys are on fresh tyres, and they have 35 minutes to deploy the benefit of those tyres. But they have 23 seconds to pull out of Tyler Jumett. So they're going to have to be about a second a lap quicker to be able to, you know, to catch up. So it's going to be a big ask for these guys to catch Tyler on these new tyres.
They're definitely on the fresher tires to do so, but Tyler has just been a man on a mission, putting in consistent lap after lap. He was doing 116s heading into the pit lane, dipped his nose into the 115s just for a lap. Well, he's just coming across the line right now, 116.644. With all that fuel, it slowed him up about 2 to 3 tenths.
Guess it's going to be, I mean, for Kevin Ford and for Jeff Jacobs, they've got to be pulling time out of Tyler Jumett like right now, and then really they'll have a pretty significant advantage at the end of the race when Tyler's tyres are completely done.
No, they're slower.
Say again?
They're slower.
Oh, yeah, they are significantly slower. So perhaps Jeff Jacobs and Kevin Ford are maybe just almost slowing one another up or distracting one another right now, perhaps.
That's what happens.
Yeah, it does indeed. So this is interesting now, because also we've seen a number of drivers make mistakes, and it's cost them their race. Now, it's certainly a lot easier to make a mistake when you're on old tyres. When you're on new tyres, it does make that a little bit easier when we get into the latter stages.
Yeah, in the later stages, Tyler is going to be wiggling all over the place, struggling with these tires. But with a 23-second gap, he is just like Lightning McQueen in Cars at the very start of that movie. He's got a massive lead, and the only way that we think that he'll lose this race is if both his rear wheels just blow up right there.
Yeah, that's...
And, oh my goodness, is that Scott Brooks?
I think that was Kernan, I think, in the wall. Yes, I think. It was a black Ferrari anyway.
It was black, but I think that might have...
So let's have a look.
It was Scott.
Ah, you're right. Well spotted. Scott Brooks. Oh, catches the grass on the inside, manages to hold it, and then, just loses it on the switchback.
No. Yeah, if it was Tony, we would have had to do a double take and ask, when did Tony get back on track?
True. Yes. Good point. Good point indeed. So, Kevin Ford then holding strong second place right now in his Ferrari from the Mercedes of Jeff Jacobs. Now, neither of these guys are in the top 5 in the championship. Neither is Tyler Jumett either, so it's going to be a complete shake-up in the GT3 standings. Elvis Rankin out after a crash at turn 1 on lap 1. Cameron Martineau is not here. John Caleb Lavender not here. Chris Thorman crashing out as well. So it's an amazing turn on its head here. It's like we stepped over the border and it's changed. It is.
Just like dodgeball, it's a true underdog story. This is a true underdog race.
You'll be able to read about all the action in Obscure Sports Quarterly on Wednesday.
On ESPN 8, The Ocho.
The Ocho. Fantastic. What a film. I'm gonna watch that tomorrow.
Same here.
Fantastic. So we're just about to click over the hour mark, signifying 2/3 of this race gone. And on those new tyres, Kevin Ford is starting to lay down the law a little bit and starting to just edge out a bit from Jeff Jacobs. So I think it's going to be a very big ask to haul in Tyler Jumett, but Kevin Ford is at the moment putting his stake on second place.
Whoa. All right, I saw that 114 and I almost thought it was set by Tyler, and I almost lost my mind. But no, Tyler putting in a 117, or Ryan Collins putting in the 114, and shows that GTE power, but Tyler held up a little bit that lap.
Yeah, it would appear so. Yeah, and another 117 there, but a 117.0 from both Ford and Jacobs last time around. So actually, quite even on pace last time. So, Alan Jeanette coming around Moss Corner with Dennis Savretic. Well, again, putting on a really consistent show. 22 seconds ahead of Travis Schwenke, who's also putting in a very strong drive too. Jem Mcdonald is third, and Arthur Chan, despite having 2 pit stops, he's in 4th place.
Yeah, Arthur Chan, 2 pit stops up there. He's up in 4th, and, well, I can tell you your second pit stop was just a little splash of fuel, realizing, yeah, we messed up on the strategies a tad bit, but hey, it's just a small fix.
Indeed. So, of course, with this race of attrition, the critical thing is that Arthur Chan has kept the car. Oh, Kevin Ford wide, very wide there.
Ooh, lap. It was a GTE.
Oh, now
Sent him wide as I think we might have seen a dive bomb right there.
possibly. Now we know that Kevin is just the nicest guy in the world. He might well have just given him a good lot of room. We know that Kevin is really, really respectful in the multi-class racing. So let's see what happened there.
It was a dive.
It was a dive bomb, yeah. But in fairness, Kevin definitely gave him the room. And when you give somebody room, you have to expect they're going to take it. So, yep, it's no harm, no foul. Maybe lost.
It's the last second dive. But yeah,
it was a bit.
No
yes.
harm, no foul. A little bit aggressive, but you know, some of these racing drivers, you see something like that, you just take the bit between your teeth and you charge.
Yeah, I think so. And of course, as you can see on your screen, folks, you'll see the drivers' names occasionally popping up on the right-hand side of the screen. That's them chattering back and forth to each other on the radio. So a lot of the time, the drivers will, in a multi-class situation, will maybe give a little bit of attention or a little bit of notification to their fellow driver to give them a bit of info on what they are planning to do. Of course, it is, although it looks very easy, these guys are pushing very, very hard and using every. We see Jeff Jacobs there just missing the apex ever so slightly, having to put in quite a lot of steering lock there. And it looks to me that Kevin Ford's Ferrari just looks that little bit more comfortable. Jeff Jacobs really having to haul this Mercedes around, and like you said, Austin, maybe that little bit of damage may be just holding him back ever so slightly.
Just going to be affecting him just a little bit on the straight, but that Mercedes, that straight line speed that Mercedes has is really its calling card. But so is that Ferrari straight line speed, so it's a bit of a head scratcher to really see what's It's such a small, minuscule bit of damage, though. It shouldn't be hurting him that much. I know I've driven this Mercedes for a long time here on iRacing. I've gotten this car's hood looking like a crown of a Corona beer, and let me tell you, it really just it doesn't really affect it that much.
It's built tough. It's an Alterbach machine from Germany, the BMW. Sorry, the BMW. Be quiet, Peter. The Mercedes AMG GT. It's built tough, I guess. So, and I tell you what, Jeff Jacobs, he is starting to put the pressure now on Kevin Ford in the Ferrari. And would you believe it, Austin, that in all the times that the Canadian Grand Prix came here to Mosport from 1967 to 1977, Ferrari never won the Grand Prix here.
That is a great that's a great bit of information. Ferrari would love to win here. Pretty much won on every track they've ever raced at.
Well, you never know in this new strange world we live in. You never know. The Canadian Grand Prix might end up back at Mosport once again, and who knows? We shall see. But I can also say that there were of the Grand Prix that were held here 3 times. It was a man with massive sideburns who won. Jackie Stewart won twice, and Emerson Fittipaldi once.
Sideburns,
make you go faster.
It's speed. It's just straight speed. Extra 100 horsepower right there.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
And great traction control too.
Oh yeah, and they keep it's great, and you live in a colder climate like in Scotland, they keep your face warm too.
Indeed. Who else has great sideburns besides Elvis?
Well, I tell you what, David Hobbs has some cracking sideburns back in the day. Who else would could do? I tell you what, right? If you're watching on YouTube on the iRacing Esports Network or or on Apex Racing TV, let us know who is your most impressive pair of sideburns. Valentino Rossi has good sideburns actually. As big wiggle there for the Ferrari of D'Olio, yeah.
He's got a massive wiggle right there, and Holland is on him. But yeah, put in your chat who has the best sideburns in motorsports.
I would say right now, I would say Guy Martin, the motorcycle road racer. He's got very good sideburns. Guy. He's a good lad, yeah. He's got some good sideburns. Valentino Rossi is probably the guy that's still rocking them.
I know Guy, he's rocking them still.
Oh yeah, he is for sure. And they were, of course, all the rage back in the 70s. I have to say, I'm not a racing driver, but I love my sideburns. And even when I go bald on top, I'm keeping the sideburns.
I think I got sideburns going on, but they're attached to my beard, so I don't think that counts.
So Derek Holland right now holding down 7th place in one of the other Mercedes AMG GTs. Going to put on some pressure on Moleski D'Olio. And Kevin Ford just starting to stretch the gap now between himself and Jeff Jacobs. That gap is just, starting to edge up over a second or so. The last 2 laps, Jeff Jacobs 0.3 of a second and half a second slower. So Kevin's starting to really lay down the law here.
Yeah, Kevin is throwing out the gauntlet on Jeff Jacobs and showing him who's boss, literally and figuratively. Kevin is one of the series runners here for the GTC GT Challenge.
Yes, indeed, does a great job. Of course, gives us commentators so much help with lots of helpful notes for us to use, which is hugely appreciated. And of course, representing our sponsors, Ricmotech on his Ferrari, and in fact on all of his paint schemes across the 3 series we have here in the Ricmotech paddock. Of course, last week we had the sports car series at Lime Rock Park, which was a lot of fun. We have in the sports car series, we've got TCR cars and GT4s running together. We have here the GT Challenge and also the Classic Sprint Series with the wonderful Ford Mustang and the little miniature Mazda MX-5s as well. So Monday night is Ricmotech night. We have racing every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, thanks to our sponsors Ricmotech and Proforma Elite Texas Graphics. And if you were, Austin, if you were wanting to get involved in sim racing and you go to Ricmotech for a setup, I mean, what kind of stuff do you need to get involved in this type of sport?
Wheels, pedals, computer that can run it, and I'm going to be honest, a computer that can run iRacing, you can go down to your library and install iRacing on them. It's not that intense of a simulation. Graphics-wise or CPU-wise, almost anything can run iRacing. Now, if you want to run iRacing on top stuff, I would say, sure, go and build a computer. And I'm going to be honest, they don't cost that much to build a very good computer to run everything on a high quality here on iRacing. But equipment-wise, a seat, a desk, or a stand that I know Ricmotech, they do sell rigs for it. So that one's a personal choice. I'm a desk user. And then a wheel with pedals in there, and boom, you're good to go. And depending on what you race, they have everything up there. If you're a GT fan, they got GT wheels. If they're a Formula fan, they got open wheel wheels. And if you like your good old American NASCAR stuff, they certainly got you right there with their NASCAR equipment.
Yeah, I have to say, I love the replica NASCAR wheels. They are very, very cool indeed. So anything, you can completely customize your setup. So if you're watching, you're an existing sim racer and want to upgrade and step up to the next level, give the guys at Ricmotech a call. It's incredible some of the equipment that is available now, and the immersion and the realism that you can get is, well, we're very, very lucky, I think, in motor racing, because there is no other sport that can be so closely replicated in your own home. So we see now,
Besides baseball.
Besides, well, do you know that there are, in Scotland, there are something like, for every registered baseball player, there are something like 13,000 baseball bats. You can wonder why.
I am wondering why. Why?
Well, they are used as they're much more used as a weapon than than a sporting piece of sporting equipment. So
that does make sense.
Yes, it does. So, have you seen any Guy Ritchie movie? Basically, they're always a baseball bat, and they're used them as well. But yeah, just noticed there in the last 2 laps, Dennis Savretic just dropping back a little bit to Travis Schwenke. I mean, with 18 minutes to go, it would require much, much more of that to happen. But interesting that Travis is really pushing on here.
I think Dennis might have had a bit of a hold-up with traffic right now, or he's just realized that I got this monster of a lead. I don't need to be pushing every single lap, because we're almost running out of fingers on one hand of how many cars that have had incidents while in the lead of this race. I think we're at 5.
Indeed, yes, I think we are. So lap 60 of an expected 76 for our leader. So only 80, yeah, just under 17 minutes to go here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Of course, sadly not getting to visit here for the IMSA WeatherTech Championship this year due to travelling restrictions, but always a very popular visit for the championship. But we were treated to very exciting Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta last weekend, which is a lot of fun, and still a couple of races to go. We've got, of course, a visit at Laguna Seca, and of course the 12 Hours of Sebring. And I tell you what, the season finale at the 12 Hours of Sebring, that's going to be double trouble.
Indeed. And what I would have loved to see that C8R race around here in its opening year. But hey, there's always next year in the future.
Indeed. Of course, hopefully we get of course, the Chevrolet Corvette C8R has had such a successful start to its competition life, as we see. Whoa, goodness me, Loeski D'Olio and Derek Holland having a really a big bust up here. So Derek Holland managed to get past D'Olio in the Ferrari, but yeah, just coming back to the Corvette C8R, it's had an amazing start to its competition life, and it's been, well, very dominant in the hands of particularly Jordan Taylor and Antonio Garcia. So hopefully, all being well, we will see it at Le Mans next year, and that's the big one. That's the big one that's missing for that car already. It's amazing to talk about a car that's only a few months into its life.
The only endurance race that it's won was the Sebring 12 Hours.
Well, it hasn't raced at Sebring yet in the 12 Hours. It's run the sprint race at Sebring.
This is how many times he run at Sebring and how many times I get confused on how many races that it's actually won.
Yeah,
but it didn't win. Its last running out at Petit, it didn't win. So it still hasn't got any of the big American endurance races on its crown yet.
That's right. Of course, it debuted at Daytona at the Rolex 24 and just missed out on a debut podium. But as soon as the season came back again at Daytona, funnily enough, in the sprint race format, the WeatherTech 240, as it was called, around the time, I think it was Independence Day, that was held. So Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see if Corvette can get the win at the Sebring 12-hour. I mean, when the C6R came out, it won Petit Le Mans, the Le Mans 24 Hours, and Sebring all in its opening season.
Yeah, it didn't have to deal with this, what we're dealing now in this opening season. It's probably the weirdest opening season you could have for a car.
Yeah, it certainly would be. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I read that the Corvette C8R, that car has been 7 years in the making between Pratt & Miller and Chevrolet. Oh my word.
Kevin.
That was a big moment there from Kevin Ford. Big
Kicked
wiggle.
up a lot of dust right there, and ooh, that probably made him and Jeff a bit worried.
Well, I can imagine, yes, he would have been twitching in there, that's for sure. And it looks like, well, yes, Jeff Jacobs has really reeled in Kevin Ford here.
That's George Feike, the Phoenix driver, off on the apex of
off at Moss Corner, turn
Moss
5.
Corner, yeah.
Yeah, so the Ford GT of George Feike, what's happened? Round, he goes down towards Moss Corner. He's already nursing quite a bit of damage on the front left of that car, and just, that dust there, it's just so tricky.
Got into the dust, and then he hit the curb, and it kind of jumped up into the air right there. It was a bizarre incident, but back to our battle for second in our GT3 class between Jeff Jacobs and Kevin Ford, which these two guys really, their battle has been much more of a keeping it clean fest than battling. Both of them have been falling very close to each other, but haven't really been bumper to bumper, toe to toe, swapping positions like they are.
Yeah, I think they've just been so evenly matched on pace that neither driver is, neither is Kevin fallen really into the clutches of Jeff Jacobs, and Jeff hasn't quite been close enough to make that move. As Race Control send a message here, incident involving cars 111 and 194.
That's Munoz.
Under investigation. So what is going on there? I wonder. We will find out. Of course, the in-race stewards here in the Ricmotech paddock really do have a firm but fair hand with incidents. Have fun dissecting that one. My goodness.
Well, there's Munoz on the back, going down to the inside. And, both of them went wide, and then, ran out of real estate. And, oh my goodness.
Who is that? It's a BMW. It's a GTE BMW that got caught in that incident.
Was that Jennifer?
I don't. Good question. It'd be interesting if we could get another look at that.
That might have been Travis Schwenke. I think that was Schwenke.
Could be. Yeah, he looks like he's certainly dropping time, but I mean,
Schwenke is dropping like a fly, but so is Jennifer. We're going to get a replay up for y'all because this is a big moment of what has happened here with that incident.
So while we wait for another little look, this battle still rages on then between Kevin Ford and Jeff Jacobs. Now, interestingly, Travis Schwenke is just going over the line with a 113.7, so I don't think he's in. Okay, so
was Travis
strange. So he's coming around the corner and he's thinking, okay, my word, and he's just sent to the moon.
Well, he kept going. I think he kept the throttle down while in the grass. So, for a big giant hit that sent you onto your side, doesn't really have a lot of damage on that car.
No, he seems to have got away with it, but I don't know how, because the car was on its roof. So I don't quite know how he got away with that one, but a huge one there for Travis Schwenke. And there was absolutely nothing he could do there. There was no space at all. He'd taken the inside line, there was a gap, and it closed. And, well, that was just, to me, that was just one big horrible racing incident.
Yeah, it was just a mistake in the brake zone by both these drivers, and, incredibly unfortunate as George Feike playing a little bit of a devil's advocate right there to Jeff Jacobs in the braking zone of Moss Corner. Held him up a lot right there. We've seen George struggle a lot in Moss, and well, that Jeff is not going to be happy about there because, well, he's trying to catch up with Kevin, and that's bored a hole in this battle.
It has got about 9 minutes left of this race, so Jeff Jacobs, he'll be really wanting to push on now, trying to put the pressure on Kevin Ford, trying to push him into a mistake. So Travis Schwenke still dropping time, but not really all that quickly. I mean, considering the hit that he took there, like you said, Austin, he has got away with that one quite significantly. And to be honest,
okay,
almost a little bit of justice.
Okay, so I'm looking at his car. It's some of the front hood's a bit bent up. The right side is absolutely cramped in, but no suspension damage that I can see, and he's putting in fairly all right times.
Yeah, another 113.7 that time around. So, you know, and Jen McDonald a 114.3. So, yeah, Jen not closing Travis down, it would appear, unless there's an error with our timing screen. As you see, let's hear from our race marshal.
Incident responsibility for Scott Brooks, and he's gonna have to do a drive-through penalty. Oh, so there was a penalty assessed for that incident.
Okay, well, there's of course the stewards have a much closer look on everything that happened. So obviously they wouldn't, and of course as we've seen so many times, Austin, the stewards will hand out a penalty when it's deserved, but will have no problem in calling something a racing incident when it's deemed to be the case. So there must have been something going on off camera there that we didn't see that they have. So, well, Dennis Sevretic then, this is going to be an even more dominant win than it already was, with Travis Schwenke dropping back. There's about 10 seconds between Schwenke and Jen McDonald, and for Jen, she's, well,
she just
got
went
an
fast
opportunity here
right there.
She is going quick. Yeah, has our marshal on again.
Oh, we got a Ferrari off in front of Travis.
Oof, that's a big one.
Travis is dodging minefields right now.
Yeah,
is that Munoz?
I think it was, yes.
No, it's Steve Daniel, who was up into 4th place.
So another Ferrari.
It was just a snap. No, it's just understeer into the grass, and then boing.
Oh, strange reaction there. So I think maybe perhaps his tires just a little bit finished. Like you said, just understeer washout there for the Ferrari. But Jen McDonald, she's on the charge now. Let's see if she can reel in Travis Schwenke. It's going to be a big ask. They're lapping at very similar speeds, as you can see. About 7 seconds lost for Travis Schwenke compared to Jen McDonald in that incident. So it looks like Travis is going to get out of jail here. And quite honestly, Austin, to be honest, he doesn't deserve to have second place taken off him in that way. Yeah,
if I had a big fight with somebody who I just saw was well, on the roof or something that they were just completely caught away with, this is Jeff Jacobs coming to Moss Corner. Are we going to see the second time that he's had an incident here? Yes, we are.
Oh, Jeff Jacobs is off. He's had a little incident at Moss.
Back live, looking at Jennifer McDonald. She carries on. Kevin Ford in second place, 22 seconds behind Tyler. And clear air behind him. So the separation by most of these guys after 90 minutes of running, very few wheel-to-wheel battles left on the field. And that just shows you on how much of a attrition race Motorsport is, as we only have about 13 cars on track.
Yeah, it's probably been the most, I would say, the most attritional race we've ever, well, I've certainly, that I've ever called in the Ricmotech paddock. Normally, really consistent driving, and that still is the case. It's just, well, the nature of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, it is a proper challenge, and if you get it wrong, we've seen it so many times throughout this race, haven't we, Austin, where drivers who have made tiny mistakes and ended up having massive accidents. So just put half a tire onto the grass, and then there's a wall waiting for them, right, immediately off the circuit.
Yeah, Motorsport is probably the most difficult track to have a clean race on, because every part of this track is very hard to master, and it's probably why it's so loved amongst everybody in the sports car scene and lower formulas of racing. Because it's a great track to test your skills at.
It certainly is, yeah, for sure. I mean, I just love it. I love those opening sections where you're really leaning on the car's grip, whether that be mechanical or aerodynamic. I have to say, in a P2 car around here, the old open top HPD, oh my goodness, such a satisfying track to drive. But this last section really technical and tricky as well. But for Tyler Jumet, we saw him, he was really pushing hard early in the beginning of the race, and that strategy has played off, Austin, and also the strategy that played off as well, not taking tyres, and he is it's working for him. He's still lapping in the 116s.
Yeah, it's just a skill of Tyler being so good on his tires, and they're just so masterful around here. He's been, well, chunking on the times of Tyler right behind, of Kevin Ford right behind him.
He has. He's just, look at that, just pulling huge chunks of time. And remember that, of course, his tires are nearly 90 minutes old, whereas Kevin's are about 30 minutes old. So really laying down the lot. Here's Tyler Jumet in the number 5 Ferrari. He's not in the top 5 in the championship, so he's going to grab a whole bunch of points, as is Kevin Ford and Jeff Jacobs. None of those three in the top 5 in the championship. So big changes in GT3, but in GTE, well, it's it's business as usual. Dennis Reddick, our championship leader, looking like he's going to extend his lead, but both Travis Schwenke and Jen Mcdonald looking like they're going to hop past Mike Dam, and Mike Dam, a bad day for him. Looks like he'll drop to 4th.
Yeah, it is going to be a big drop for Mike Dam today. Very unfortunate what's happened to him. Travis Schwenke, well, very unfortunate what happened to him on track, but it looks like he's going to be staying in 2nd place. Jennifer McDonald, she's going to be happy with a 3rd place today. And, yeah, it's just this race has been all over the place, but it has been very fun to watch. And Dennis Evertech, well, he's not putting down any lightly. Purple Sector 1.
Wow, he is to put in purple sector, best first sector of anyone, and that sector, of course, is where you need the tire grip. So I wonder if, of course, we didn't see if Dennis Evertech took tires in his pit stop.
Oh my gosh.
That's just crazy.
He's the only GTE in the 111s.
And to do it at this late stage of the
Half
race.
a second faster than the fastest lap of the other drivers.
Wow.
White flag is in the air here for the Ricmotech GT Challenge Series, presented by Proforma Elite Texas Graphics. Dennis Evertech in the 79, putting on a clinic here in the GTE field. And one last time through Moss Corner, you get to see how much tire wear has been accumulated throughout this entire race right there. That is the highest tire wear corner here. And Dennis, he knows he's got this. He just has 3 more quarters to go. And he's got to be nodding his head like, I'm the man.
Yeah, he will indeed. So the number 79 of Dennis Evertech is going to be your winner then. here in the Ricmotech GT Challenge from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. He brings his BMW M8 over the line to win by nearly a minute after 90 minutes of frantic action. Here's Travis Schwenke in second place. He's just coming down to Moss Corner, so a big gap between those guys. But Travis, despite that huge incident, looks like he's gonna hang on to second place as Tyler Jemet comes over the line to win in GT3 in his Ferrari. An amazing drive from him. Made a small mistake at Moss Corner, but kept it out the barrier, and he is rewarded with a GT3 class win. And here comes Kevin Ford in second place in class. A great drive from him.
Kevin's going to be over the moon and blessed, but it's the day of the underdogs here today. Tyler Jemet takes the win, and he's got to be over the moon because he was not expecting that today when he came in here. Jennifer Mcdonald, she's going to come across the line in third place, just only 6 seconds behind Travis Schwenke in front of her.
Yeah, good drive from Jen McDonald, keeping out of trouble and scoring a good bunch of points. We're going to take a very brief break here on the iRacing Esports Network and Apex Racing TV for a short message from our sponsors, Ricmotech, and we will be right back with official results and driver interviews. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where we have been treated to, well, a highly attritional race, a very exciting race indeed. But let's see how they finished in our two classes. Denis Savretic, a fantastic performance, winning by 52 seconds from Travis Schwenke, who managed to avoid, well, his race being finished completely with two stricken Ferraris in his path, and he finishes second. Jen McDonald, an excellent podium for her in her BMW. In third, Arthur Chan was fourth after two pit stops. A good drive from him in the Ferrari. Ryan Collins was fifth, with George Fike 3 laps down in sixth. And then Mike Dam did not finish the race, but has been classified. So in GT3, Tyler Gilmet was our winner by 21 seconds from Kevin Ford and 24 seconds from Jeff Jacobs. A really tight finish at the end there for the podium in GT3. Derek Holland was fourth, followed by Loeski D'Olio, Steve Daniel, Scott Brooks, Daniel Munoz, Russ Ruddock, Tony Kernan, David Payton, Bobby Childs, Chris Thorman, Elvis Rankin crashing on the opening lap, and William Dillon not making the start. So we have our GT3 winner coming in to join us in the commentary box, Tyler Gilmet. Let's see what he has to say after his GT3 class victory. Tyler, what a drive. Congratulations on a win in the Ricmotech GT Challenge Series. How does it feel?
Well, first off, thank you. It feels great. It's a tough track to run 90 minutes on. And to get my first win in the 3 seasons I've been in the league it's amazing.
Oh, it certainly was a great drive. I mean, Tyler, you were really, really pushing earlier on, it seemed to us on the broadcast here. Was that the strategy, to just really try and make the moves and get to the front?
Yeah, I wanted to get the moves done early. I didn't want the leader to pull out away. You know, in practice, I knew I had the pace, and I just didn't do it in qualifying to get up there on the front row. So I just wanted to make up the time early.
Well, you certainly did that. And of course, after, like you say, 90 minutes of racing, a long time around Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and you managed to get around just about mistake-free. You just had a little moment into Moss Corner, but managed to escape without damage. Tell us what happened there.
Yeah, I ran a little deep into the first right-hander and just pushed wide and got on the dirt and tried to turn it down. The car just spun, and then in the grass, it just didn't want to get back on track. So lost a lot of time there. We got lucky with the other guys having mistakes and catching some damage, it seemed like, on the pit stop. So
yeah, there were certainly guys dropping like flies, that's for sure. Well, as the winner here in the Ricmotech GT Challenge GT3 class, who would you like to thank on the iRacing Esports Network?
got to thank our series sponsors, Ricmotech and Proformer Elite Texas Graphics, you guys for hosting the streams, and you know, everybody that just stands behind me and pushes me to get to where I am today.
Well, Tyler, thanks so much for coming to join us up here in the commentary box, and congratulations on your victory.
Thanks, Peter.
So that was Tyler Jamette there, coming in to have a little bit of a chat with us. And our second place finisher in GTE, Travis Schwenke, is with Austin Knight.
Travis, how was that race for you, man?
That was an exciting race. I thought I was just going to finish it out. You know, I just kind of settled into a safe pace, and all of a sudden, everything kind of broke loose in the last 10 to 15 minutes there.
Yeah, you think you're all good to go home. The next thing you know, the wagon falls off the wheel, and you're facing well, on your side for a good 3 seconds. But that BMW, you got to think that German engineering with how strong they built that car.
Yeah, it was, I guess, a little Joey Chitwood training on how to ride Walmart bicycles correctly. So I figured that out on the 2 wheels and came through okay.
Well, that training certainly paid off for you. I would say that's probably the weirdest skill I've ever heard to transfer over to the driving. But hey, you made it work.
There you go.
Well, it's a second place for you. How is racing at Motorsport for 90 minutes compared to other tracks?
I mean, it's more of a workout. You think at least you have a straight here where you can get a drink if you need to. You know, Road Atlanta seems actually even a little busier. You're shifting so much down the backstretch there, you barely have a chance to get a drink. Here, at least, you know, you're in the gears a little longer, so it's that pull uphill, so you can take a little bit of a break. But feels very similar to me to Road Atlanta in terms of effort for a race. So.
Well, you put in the effort, you put in the work today, you survived, and you came home in second place in the GTE. So I say that's a pretty good night for you. Before we let you go, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, thank the Ryan Race team and Elvis and Mike and Jordy Fike as well. He's always with us, and just Ricmotech for providing the world with sim gear. So let's get the sim world has picked up huge, and glad that people like him are around to provide people great gear.
All right, thank you, Travis. You have yourself a good rest of your night, and well, you go back to training on 2 wheels on Walmart bicycles for
I will do
next
that.
round.
I will do that. Thank you.
Be safe.
All right, bye.
So there you go. If you want to avoid a big accident, train on a Walmart bicycle. There you go. Some very much some wisdom there from Travis Schwenke. And
just wear a helmet if you try that. I must say that.
Yes, please. Yes, that's very important. We say that. But let's get our next podium finisher in the GTE class, Jen Mcdonald, in to have a chat with us and see what she has to say after a very strong drive. Jen McDonald, how are you doing?
Good. How about you all?
We're doing well. We certainly enjoyed that. There was all kinds of stuff going on, very much a race of attrition. How was it from your seat?
Yeah, there was a few cars spinning here and there, off and on during the race. So it was a really good race. Traffic was good, but yeah, you had to concentrate every second.
Certainly did. Of course, at Motorsport, 90 minutes is a long way around. How did you kind of handle the strategy and things like that? Because of course it's quite a hard track on tires. Did you opt for tires at the pit stop?
Yeah, no, I went with no tires, but the left front took a beating.
It certainly looked like it, and of course, I understand you drive a BMW in the real world. What is it that you drive?
I have a E36, so that's a 96 328.
Ah, very nice indeed. And have it out on track much?
Yeah, just a couple times this year, so just did some track days.
Very good indeed. And of course, next time we are off to Lime Rock Park for the GT Challenge circuit. And of course, the BMW has got fantastic pace along the straightaways, and it's a pretty stable car. But at Lime Rock, it's going to be really tricky. How you feeling heading towards that round?
Good. We had a pretty good race. What was that, last week in the Porsche? So at least I have some experience there in traffic. But it's going to keep you on the wheel for sure.
It certainly will. Well, Jen, as our podium finisher tonight in the GT Challenge, who would you like to give a shout out to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to the league guys. So Kevin, Jeff, Russ, Bobby, everybody who works on the league. You guys for sure as well. Apex has been really good over the years. It's been great to see the advancement as well with everything we're trying to do. And then I got to thank the D2D guys. So Bobby, of course, but Chris and David, and we've ran a couple of endurance races together and been a lot of fun. So really appreciate driving with everybody in the league. Really some great guys, and we have fun every week.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. We certainly enjoy calling the races. Jen, well done on the podium, and hopefully we'll speak again very soon.
All right, have a good one.
So we have one more. We've saved the best for last, Austin, because we have none other than Kevin Ford, who is going to have a little chat with you.
Well, we got Kevin Ford standing right here, and Kevin came home in second place. It probably was the most wild field of the day, and well, I called it a true underdog story of the entire GT3 field. The entire podium ceremony has been full of true underdogs, and one of those is Kevin Ford. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm not sure if I'm actually supposed to be in here.
Yes,
yeah. I'll tell you what, it was quite a race tonight. Yeah, just, due to some of the misfortunes of others, we were able to get that Ferrari up into second. I honestly was so busy concentrating during the race that until Jeff told me later on in the race that he and I were running third and fourth, I really didn't know where I was.
Well, now you do. You belong up there on the podium, and this is not an error. You are not being trolled. This is the truth. You did finish second.
Good stuff. Well, I appreciate you guys covering the event tonight. It was quite a race. Yeah, it was a lot of unusual aspects of Canadian Tire tonight. Old CTMP certainly put on a show for everybody, for sure.
Well, you certainly had a great race today. What were some of the highlights of your race?
I think a lot of it was just the traffic coming through and trying to manage that as best as possible. There were times when I think I could have opened the door, a little bit early for them, but we were just in such a heated battle throughout the race. Drivers were making mistakes, getting back on track, and then we'd see them in front and try to close back in. It was really just a tug of war throughout the entire event. But I think a lot of it was just the traffic, just trying to manage it the best as possible. Felt bad for Jeff there in the 38 car. That Mercedes was getting it done for him tonight. He was really driving a heck of a race. I think we'd have had a great battle there at the end. But GTE traffic interrupted that a little bit. But yeah, it was a good race tonight, though.
Good race, good battling, positive feelings for you here today. Well, Kevin, before we let you go, anyone you want to thank?
Oh, absolutely. My gosh. Let's see. I have a laundry list, but I'll keep it short. I want to thank my family first and foremost. My wife, of course, for her just unbounded support of my sim racing and everything I do in this dark cave here in the house. But family, especially parents watching the broadcasts and all the friends out there. And of course, Ricmotech, big thanks to Frank and all the staff there at Ricmotech. We do appreciate their support. And Chris Thorman with Pro Forma Elite Texas Graphics, we do appreciate them. They've been such a great supporter of the series for such a long time, and so big thanks to them. Big thanks to you guys at Apex. Tremendous job each and every week for all of our Ricmotech paddock series. We do appreciate you guys covering it.
All right. Well, thank you, Kevin. You have yourself a great night. We're going to throw it over to Peter, who's going to end out today.
Have a good night, guys.
So that was some of our podium finishers coming in to share their thoughts, and some new voices as well, who we haven't had on for, all season. So fantastic to hear from them. That's about all we have time for here on Apex Racing TV and the iRacing Esports Network. Don't forget, we are here every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for the Ricmotech Paddock. We have 3 different series, so we've got racing all the time here in the Ricmotech Paddock. If you want to find out more about the series, you can go on to www.extrememotorsports99.com for more information. And if you want to upgrade your simulation equipment, give the guys at Ricmotech a call. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next Monday night.